We are continuing with the teachings of Sri Nisargadatta Maharaj from the book I Am That. Now, here the questioner is coming up with his own concept. And the questioner is implying that God has an agenda. God has a purpose for whatever is happening. So he is giving Maharaj his understanding of the concept. He says that when the God sleeps, that he refers to as pralaya. So everything becomes unconscious. And then the God wakes up again and the creation is resumed, and there is an emergence of new universe where the people who were sleeping now start waking up. Now there are some who are more advanced and they wake up fast, whereas there are others who are slow. So the ones who have already woken up are helping others to be awake. And he says that, but he tells Maharaj that you say that this whole world is a lie, that it should be shunned. Now, an important thing to note here is that when Maharaj says that deny the world, what he means is that deny that world which is the projection of your mind. So Maharaj is not denying what is. When Advaita masters say that world is an illusion, they are not talking of the world that is. They are talking on our projection of the world, which comes from the past conditioning. And in that sense, each one of us create a different world. For some people, this world is a very happy place, full of energy, vibrance. For others, it is a dull place. It is a trap. So you see, we all create different projections on the same world. So Maharaj is not denying what is. In fact, Maharaj is saying reality is what is. And the illusion is what is superimposed on what is. So the mind which is trapped in the duality of right and wrong, it is that mind which remains conflicted. So Maharaj says, and I will read Maharaj's words. He says, it is in the nature of the mind to imagine goals, to strive towards them, to seek out means and ways, to display visions, energy and courage. These are divine attributes and I do not deny them, but I take my stand where no difference exists, where things are not, nor the mind that creates them. There I am at home. So Maharaj, his world is not made up of anything. It is complete nothingness. In fact, Maharaj says that anything which touches nothing becomes nothing. It is like a bottomless well. Anything you drop into it, it just disappears into it. So the questioner, now again, the thing is that the questioner came with an agenda that God has the consciousness has a purpose, of waking up people and this and that. And Maharaj is saying that it is your mind only which is creating all these stories, which is creating all these goals, all these ideas, that there is some goodness or some concept of evil, and that one has to transcend the evil and go into goodness. And even this kind of belief is quite popular in New Age spirituality, where people imagine that they are in some higher state of consciousness and that they are helping the others to achieve the same. But it is the mind only which is creating this type of a difference. The mind that is identified with concepts of good and bad, pure and evil, and so on. So it is mind, which creates this distinction that that person is unawakened, this person is awakened. Whereas the aliveness in each one of us is the same. And the behavior that the body takes, that the body adapts to, is based on past conditioning over which the individual has no control. Yes, you can train the mind to a certain extent, but you cannot guarantee that every time it will be a success. So you can undergo all types of training to calm the mind, but there are instances when your mind will not be calm. And the acceptance of this fact frees you from the bondage of mind, because then you don't put resistance to anything. Otherwise, we are so caught up in our thinking and we are so obsessed with solutions and prescriptions that we want immediate solutions to every problem. And in that haste, we never look at a problem in totality. Whenever there is a feeling, there is an unpleasant sensation, we never fully feel it. We just want to block it, resist it. And that is why it propagates. It creates more suffering. It intensifies. If you allow things to appear and play out completely, then nothing is going to trouble you, because nothing is going to last. Because then you have seen that it is content which is also made up of consciousness. Consciousness, which is your very own nature. And it is just like waves in the ocean. They arise, they play, and they fall down. They dissolve in the ocean. Similarly, the feelings also come up, thoughts also come up, they play in the ocean of awareness, and then back they go into the same awareness. It is the wave which is conflicted. Why am I here? What is my purpose? But wave does not realize that it is the ocean, it is the happiness, it is already conscious, it is already awakened. So, the questioner says, then, is there no way I can help the world? And Maharaj says, I'll read his words. He says, you made up your mind about what help means and needs, and got yourself into a conflict between what you should and what you can, between necessity and ability. Now again, when you think that someone needs help, someone or something needs help, it is your own mind's projection. The solution that your mind comes up is based on its own projection, which it thinks is reality. And you think that by doing certain actions, I can change this or change that. Now, I say that that's okay, helping someone, doing an act of kindness, nothing wrong with any of that. But it is not going to eliminate the conflict. Say, for example, a beggar on the street. Now, you may, India has so many beggars. We have beggars on the street outside. And when you see them in the torn clothes and some of them are actually mutilated, it is actually a racket in India. But seeing those people, we get a little, what do you say? It doesn't look good. It doesn't feel good to see another human being in that state. So, we give money but is it going to help them? Is it going to eliminate poverty if we give money to all the beggars? If we offer food to the needy, it is all good gesture, and I'm not saying it should not be done. Do whatever you feel gives you happiness. But don't do it with this intention that you are doing something to change something. The change will happen through the same power which created the adversity in the first place. There is no agenda behind God's functioning. That is the cosmic law, and we cannot make sense of the cosmic law. Why God creates suffering, only God knows. Why consciousness animates the world the way it animates, only the consciousness knows. The created object, the three-dimensional objects, you and me, we cannot know that cosmic law. And this is what Ramesh Balsekar said is the original sin. To assume God's will is original sin, according to Ramesh Balsekar's concept. When I say that I know better than God, I know what's best for you, I know what's best for the world, therefore I am going to do this, I am going to do that, and I am going to change the whole world. A world which is the projection of my own mind. So I think Maharaj has said this much better than me, so I'll read it out. He says, your mind projects a structure and you identify yourself with it. It is in the nature of desire to prompt the mind to create a world for its fulfillment. Desire can produce a universe. Its powers are miraculous. Just as a small matchstick can set a huge forest on fire, so does the desire light the fires of manifestation. You must be very careful as to what you desire and as to the people you want to help. They are in their respective worlds for the sake of their desires, and there is no way of helping them except through their desires. You can teach them to have the right desires so that they may rise above them and be free from the urge to create and recreate the world of desires, adobes of pain and pleasure. Abodes of pain and pleasure. So, again, it is the same thing. We are caught up in our own bubble of thoughts. And that becomes our world. Now, this is the nature of mind. It projects things out of limited content, out of the conditioning, past conditioning, which is obviously limited. And then it comes up with solutions which are also limited. And yet the ego mind is always so convinced that it is doing the right action. But despite what we do, things continue to be the same, more or less. Well, there are times when there is peace, but again, the wars come up, the trouble come up. So it's a scale, So sometimes there are peaceful times, sometimes there are wars. It is all because of the identification with the limited. All desires come because of the identification with the limited mind and body. So Maharaj says that if you tell these people, show them the nature of their desires, where that desire is coming from. The desire is coming from the sense of personal identification, which is limited, which is small, which feels itself to be insignificant. And in that movement, it creates desire to become big, to attain fulfillment, happiness, money, fame, etc., etc. So it creates its own world. And the mind creates bubbles and lives in that bubble. And the mind does not like this also. The mind does not like that, to know that it is a bubble. So, all in all, Maharaj says, and I will read out these lines. He says, God is the all-doer. The Jnani is the non-doer. God himself does not say, I am doing all. To him, things happen by their own nature. To the Jnani, all is done by God. He sees no difference between God and nature. Both God and the Jnani know themselves to be the immovable center of the movable, the eternal witness of the transient. Our pure nature is the witness. The witness which sees everything the way it is, rather than the way it should or should not be. The mind, on the other hand, is filtered consciousness. It is identified aspect of consciousness, which sees things in a biased perspective. So the individual cannot help but see things in limitations, whereas the witness sees everything the way it is. So that is why Maharaj says that nothing is to be done other than seeing things the way they are. And there is no way to do this, to be the witness. To be the witness means that you are something else right now and you want to become the witness. The moment you ask how to become the witness, you have already introduced the subject, which has created an object. Now you are the subject and the witness is the object. So you have already created a separation. And separation is suffering. Because till the subject exists, subject meaning the sense of personal identification, till that exists, there will always be a separation, a measure, something that I want to become, something that I want to attain, maybe enlightenment, maybe some idea of future enhancement or whatever it is. I want to become this, I want to become that. And this whole process of becoming, unbecoming, this is what suffering is. So Maharaj is saying that your nature is nothing. It is right here, right now. So why do you look for it somewhere else? And all these questions of purpose, life, meaning, where do they come from? They come from the sense of personal identification, which is identified with the limited. Okay, so we will conclude today's topic and I will see you next time.